There has been a belief that has existed for many decades that carrots help you see better in the dark. This belief has been passed down through generations, repeated at family meals, mentioned in parental advice, and even appearing in stories from wartime. But what is interesting is that modern science does not completely agree with that simple interpretation. Carrots are not a magical food for the eyes in the way many people once believed. So why has that belief lasted for so long? Carrots are one of the most familiar vegetables on the everyday dining table. They are inexpensive, easy to buy, easy to prepare, and almost everyone has eaten them since childhood. Precisely because they are so familiar, very few people stop to ask what truly exists inside this orange root. Why is it associated with eyesight? Why does it appear in most healthy eating recommendations? And why has such a simple vegetable remained part of the human diet for thousands of years? Few people realize that the distinctive color of carrots is not random. And carrots were not always orange as they are today. Behind that familiar appearance lies a long journey where science, history, and human choice quietly intertwine. And to understand why carrots are still present in the modern diet, we need to begin by looking at them slowly and carefully, starting from the very original nature of this root that seems so simple. Carrots are a root vegetable, and the part most commonly used by humans is the enlarged root that develops underground. Unlike many leafy vegetables or fruits, carrots store energy and nutrients in this root to sustain the plant throughout its growth cycle. This characteristic turns carrots into a natural reservoir of important biological compounds. From a biological perspective, carrots belong to the Apiaceae family, the same group as celery and parsley. But what makes them notable is not their name or classification, but their broad adaptability and balanced nutritional structure. Carrots can grow in many different climates, from temperate to subtropical regions, and they can be stored relatively longer than many other vegetables. This has made them a stable food source throughout history, especially during periods when fresh food was not always available. The most recognizable characteristic of carrots is their color, most commonly orange. This color comes from carotenoid compounds, particularly beta-carotene, a substance that the human body can convert into vitamin A. But color is not only aesthetic. It reflects how the plant stores compounds and protects itself from the environment, while also providing biological value to those who consume it. Carrots are not a vegetable that immediately impresses with a strong flavor. They are not bitter, not spicy, and not overly sweet. Yet this neutrality allows them to combine easily with many dishes, many cuisines, and many groups of people. And that is why, despite being very ordinary, carrots have become an important part of the human diet for a very long time. Before becoming the familiar orange root on the modern table, carrots had a very different history. The earliest evidence suggests that carrots appeared more than 1,000 years ago in the region of Central Asia, particularly in areas that are now part of Afghanistan. At that time, carrots were not cultivated for their roots but for their leaves and seeds. The original roots were small, tough, bitter, and colored dark purple or pale yellow, completely different from the image people have today. Ancient people did not consider carrots a primary food. They were used more as a seasoning plant, a medicinal herb, or a supporting ingredient in simple meals. Only later, when people began to notice the root and its ability to store energy, did carrots gradually start being cultivated intentionally as food. This process happened slowly across many generations and was closely linked with the development of agriculture and settled living. From Central Asia, carrots spread along ancient trade routes to the Middle East and Europe. In each new region, people selected plants with larger roots, less bitterness, and better taste. Over time, carrots gradually changed in both shape and flavor. Their colors also became more diverse, ranging from purple, yellow, and red until orange became more dominant many centuries later. A major turning point occurred around the 16th and 17th centuries in Europe. During this period, orange carrot varieties were selectively bred and widely developed, particularly in the Netherlands. The orange color was not only visually appealing but also reflected a higher concentration of carotenoid compounds in the root. From that point forward, orange carrots gradually became dominant and turned into the representative image that we recognize today. Throughout history, carrots were associated more with everyday life than with luxurious feasts. They appeared in the kitchens of farmers, in stews, soups, and foods stored for winter. This simplicity allowed carrots to survive through many social changes. When war, scarcity, or food crises occurred, crops that were easy to grow and easy to store, such as carrots, became important choices. By the 20th century, carrots were not only food, but also became a symbol associated with health, especially eyesight. Part of this image came from stories spread during wartime, when protecting military information led people to attribute special benefits to carrots. Although the original reason was not entirely scientific, it helped make carrots more familiar in public awareness. From that moment, the journey of carrots entered a new chapter in which modern science began to explain more clearly the real values hidden behind the long history of this root. The carrots we know today are no longer purely the result of nature. The straight shape, large root, consistent color, and mild sweetness that we recognize are the result of hundreds of years of intentional human selection. From the moment people realized that the root of carrots could become a stable food source, they began influencing how the plant grew, even if at first the intervention was very simple. In ancient agriculture, saving seeds from plants that had larger, softer, and less bitter roots was the most common form of intervention. Over many harvest seasons, the preferred characteristics gradually became more prominent within the crop population. As a result, carrots slowly but continuously changed from small, branched, tough, and bitter roots into longer, straighter, and more palatable ones. This was not a sudden transformation, but the result of thousands of small decisions repeated across many generations. The color of carrots is a clear example of this human influence. Ancient carrot varieties were purple, yellow, or white. When people began to notice that orange varieties tended to taste sweeter and were more acceptable in meals, those varieties were favored for cultivation and propagation. This selection unintentionally increased the concentration of carotenoid compounds in the roots, creating the characteristic color and gradually altering the nutritional profile of carrots over time. Along with color and shape, flavor was also strongly modified. Wild carrots contain many bitter compounds that serve to protect the plant from insects and grazing animals. As carrots became domesticated, these compounds were gradually reduced and replaced by higher natural sugar levels. As a result, carrots became easier to eat and suitable for many groups of people, from children to older adults. In the modern era, human intervention in carrots has become more systematic through agricultural science. New varieties are developed to increase yield, disease resistance, and storage life. However, this also raises questions about the balance between productivity and quality. Although modern carrots are convenient and widely available, they remain the result of a chain of human decisions that reflect the needs, priorities, and living conditions of different periods. Looking at a carrot today is also looking at the history of how humans have shaped food to serve their own lives. When modern science began analyzing carrots systematically, researchers realized that the value of this root does not lie in a single nutrient, but in the way its components interact within the human body. Carrots are a low-energy density food, yet they contain many important biological compounds, making them a suitable option for everyday diets. The most frequently mentioned component in carrots is beta-carotene, a carotenoid responsible for the characteristic orange color. Beta-carotene is not vitamin A itself, but it is a precursor that the body can convert into vitamin A when needed. This process occurs in the intestines and the liver, depending on the body's actual requirements. This is important because it allows the body to regulate itself and avoid excessive vitamin A intake, as can happen with direct supplementation. Vitamin A plays an essential role in maintaining vision, particularly the eye's ability to adapt to low light conditions, while also supporting immune function and the integrity of skin and mucous membranes. In addition to beta-carotene, carrots provide a notable amount of dietary fiber. Most of the fiber in carrots includes both soluble and insoluble types, supporting digestive function in different ways. Insoluble fiber helps increase stool bulk and promotes intestinal movement, while soluble fiber can slow the absorption of sugar and contribute to stabilizing blood glucose levels after meals. This explains why carrots, despite their natural sweetness, do not cause rapid spikes in blood sugar like many refined foods. Carrots also contain moderate amounts of B vitamins, particularly vitamin B6, which participates in protein metabolism and supports nervous system function. Although carrots are not the primary source of these vitamins, their presence contributes to the balanced nutritional profile of the vegetable, especially when it is combined with other foods in a meal. In terms of minerals, carrots provide potassium in an amount sufficient to support electrolyte balance and cardiovascular function. Potassium plays an important role in regulating blood pressure by balancing the effects of sodium in the diet. Carrots also contain small amounts of calcium, magnesium, and iron. Individually, these amounts are not remarkable, but they still contribute to the total mineral intake the body receives each day. Another less discussed aspect is the presence of other antioxidants in carrots besides beta-carotene, including alpha-carotene and certain polyphenols. These compounds help neutralize free radicals produced during metabolism, thereby supporting the protection of cells from oxidative damage. Although carrots are not the food with the highest antioxidant concentration, their consistent presence in the diet may provide long-term benefits. What must be emphasized is that the nutritional value of carrots does not come from eating large amounts in a short time, but from regular and reasonable consumption. Carrots work best when they are part of a whole dietary pattern, combined with healthy fats to enhance carotenoid absorption and accompanied by other food groups to form a balanced diet. From a scientific perspective, carrots are not an instant solution but a small yet stable link in the human nutritional system. When scientific data is placed back into the context of everyday life, carrots reveal their value in a very practical way. They do not promise immediate transformation, but they support the body in functioning steadily under the ordinary conditions of daily living. This quiet role makes carrots suitable for many different groups of people. For busy individuals, carrots are one of the few foods that are both easy to prepare and easy to combine with other dishes. Their fiber content helps create a longer feeling of fullness, supporting appetite control between meals and reducing the tendency for unnecessary snacking. This is particularly useful during long workdays when food choices are often made quickly. Carrots can be eaten raw, steamed, boiled, or quickly cooked without losing their core nutritional role. For older adults, carrots provide benefits through digestive support and the maintenance of vision. As digestion becomes slower with age, the fiber in carrots helps the intestinal system function more regularly. At the same time, provitamin A compounds support retinal function and help the eyes adapt better to varying light conditions. Although carrots cannot reverse age-related changes, regular consumption may help slow certain natural declines. For children, carrots have the advantage of a mild sweetness and an easy-to-eat texture. They are one of the vegetables that children often accept more readily, compared with many bitter leafy greens. Introducing carrots early in the diet helps children become familiar with vegetables, while also providing nutrients that support the development of vision and the immune system during growth. For people following vegetarian or plant-focused diets, carrots serve as a stable supporting source of nutrients. They do not provide high protein, but they help diversify micronutrients and fiber intake, making meals more balanced. When combined with legumes, seeds, and healthy fats, carrots help optimize the absorption of fat-soluble compounds such as carotenoids. More importantly, carrots fit well into long-term lifestyles. They do not require dramatic changes in eating habits, but only need to appear regularly in moderate amounts. This consistency is what allows carrots to become a natural part of healthy living rather than a short-term dietary trend. In daily life, carrots are a very flexible food, but the way they are used can significantly influence nutrient absorption. Carrots can be eaten raw, cooked, or processed into juice, and each method has its own advantages and limitations. When eaten raw, carrots retain their crisp texture and some heat-sensitive vitamins, but the amount of beta-carotene that the body absorbs is usually lower compared with lightly cooked carrots. Cooking carrots, such as steaming or quick sautéing, helps break down plant cell walls and therefore increases the absorption of carotenoids. When carrots are combined with a small amount of healthy fat, such as olive oil or nuts, the body can utilize beta-carotene more effectively. This is why carrots are often used in soups, stews, or dishes sautéed with vegetable oil. However, despite their nutritional value, carrots should still be consumed in reasonable amounts. Eating excessive quantities of carrots for a long period may lead to mild yellowing of the skin caused by beta-carotene accumulation, especially in young children. This condition is generally harmless and will decrease when the diet is adjusted, but it demonstrates that no food should be overused. In addition, raw carrots contain a small amount of compounds that may cause digestive discomfort in some sensitive individuals. In such cases, cooking carrots can make them easier to digest. Overall, using carrots in varied ways, in moderation, and in combination with other foods is the simplest way to benefit from this root without unnecessary risks. Part 8. Modern meaning. In the modern world, where food is increasingly complex and often associated with exaggerated promises, carrots continue to exist in a very quiet way. They do not need to be promoted as a superfood, nor do they require dramatic stories to prove their value. Carrots are simply a food that has accompanied humans long enough to demonstrate that persistence sometimes matters more than attention. Looking back at the entire journey, carrots are not just an orange root. They are the result of history, selection, science, and eating habits formed across many generations. The benefits that carrots provide do not come from eating large amounts, but from understanding them correctly and using them regularly and reasonably. Perhaps the next time carrots appear in your meal, you may look at them a little differently, not simply as a familiar vegetable, but as a small part of the long story between humans and food. If this content has given you a new perspective, leave your thoughts and do not forget to follow the channel to continue similar journeys.